If you've ever wondered where your money goes each month, or if you're looking for an effective way to control your expenses and save more, this video is for you. Let's get started. First, we need to set the page to full width. Now, we're going to create an inline database for the categories, and another one for the expenses. We'll start by replacing the name of the databases with a space and assigning them an icon. Now, we'll remove the properties that we don't need. Next, we change the name and the icon. And we add a number property that we'll call budget. But it says number format, we'll choose our currency, in my case the euro. Now we're going to add all the categories we need with the respective budget. And of course, we'll change the icon for each one of the categories we have. And for now, we'll leave this database like this, and we'll start setting up the expenses. And we add a date property. Before we continue, let's create a default template, so each time we create an expense, it will always have the same format. We go to New and click on New Template, and here the only thing we're going to change will be the icon, and in the date, we'll put it as today when duplicated. Now again, we go to New, and in the template we just created, we click the three dots and select Set as Default for all views in Expenses. We are going to create another number property, which we are going to call Amount, and we're going to replace number with our currency. Optionally, we can add a text property, which we'll call, and another Files and Media property if we want to attach the purchase receipt. Now, let's create some example expenses. The next step, and one of the most important ones, is to relate our expenses to our categories. This way, we can see where most of our money is going, as well as how much we spend in each category. To do this, we just need to create a new relation property. Make sure to select the correct database and set the limit to one page, since an expense will only correspond to one category. And finally, toggle on Show in Categories. Once this is done, we'll assign each expense its corresponding category. For this personal budget to work correctly, we need to display the expenses for the current month. This, we're going to go to the expenses database, and we're going to create a very simple formula. The first step is to tell it which month and year we are in. For that, we write format date, and in the middle, we're going to add now, followed by a comma, and put in the date format, which is for M's and for Y's. Second, we're going to say that if the month and year we are in is equal to the date when the expense was added. The third step is to say that if this matches, it will show us the amount we spent. We write if at the beginning and add the closing parenthesis at the end. Now, we'll tell it that if this condition has been met, it will show us the amount, and if it doesn't, it will show us 0. Now, we're gonna tell it to show us the number in our currency, and in this simple way, we will be able to see the expenses for each category each month. Now, simply we're going to change the name to monthly expenses and give it an icon. The next step is to show the formula we just created in the categories database. This, we're going to create a roll-up which we're going to relate to the expenses database, assign it the monthly expenses property, and finally we're going to tell it to show us the sum of all the expenses. Now we're going to create a super simple formula to show us the remaining of our budget, which will consist of telling it budget minus monthly expenses. And of course, don't forget to show the results in your currency. And finally, as the last formula, we're going to create a progress bar. For this, the first thing we're going to do is divide monthly expenses by budget. To avoid so many decimals, we're going to round them. This, at the beginning of the formula, we're going to write round, and at the end we close it. Now we're gonna tell it how many decimals we want. This will multiply by 10, 100, 1000, etc. As you can see, 10 doesn't give an accurate result, so the recommended minimum is 100, which gives the exact number without any decimals. From here, every zero we add will be a decimal. In my case, I'm gonna leave it at 100. Now, the number format we want is percent, and finally, we select if we want only the number, the bar, or the ring, the color, and if we want to show the number in addition to the bar or the ring. And finally, to finish, let's create two text properties, one where we'll write monthly budget, and in the other, this month's expenses. And that's it for the creation and configuration of the databases. Now it's time to make our dashboard aesthetic. This, first, we're going to display our categories database in a gallery view. Now let's configure this view. And now let's go to the expenses database. This is going to be a list view. To avoid the expenses list being too long, we're going to group it. And group it by date, according to the month, and let the most recent expenses appear first. Now, to make everything look more minimalist, let's create two columns, one for the categories and one for the expenses. I like to write in upper cases and leaving a space between letters, followed by a separator. And finally, to wrap up, and entirely optionally, let's create a chart like this to visualize everything. This you'll need to type in Google Notion charts or click on the link in the description. As a reminder, I wanted to tell you that I don't receive any commissions for showing you this page. Another reminder is that it is completely free, but they only allow you to create a single chart. Now let's sign in with our Google account. The next step is to connect our Notion account. If you have more than one Notion account, make sure to choose the one you want. Click on Select Pages and choose the pages you want to grant access to. In our case, Personal Budget Tracker, and grant the access. Next, we're going to create a new chart. And in our case, we're going to choose a pie chart. Now, we're going to select the database. In our case, the one for categories. And if you don't see it, don't worry. Just reload a couple times. Now, in the x-axis, we're going to select category, and in the y-axis, remaining. As you can see, here it can be modified too. And now, it's time to configure the chart to your liking. In my case, I'm going to hide the text. Now, you can choose the colors. Here, you can choose whether you want to show the percentage that each category occupies or their remaining. And finally, in remaining, let's give it our currency. Finish and add this chart to Notion. Let's click on Get Embed Link and make sure that Live is selected. Now all we have to do is copy it and go to Notion where we'll paste it as embed. And now we drag our chart until we see a blue vertical line next to the callout, and there we release it. And we do the same with the space and with the callout of expenses, but now we'll look for the horizontal line below categories. And now we adjust everything to our liking, and that's it. And that's all for today. I hope this guide helped you understand how to create and use your own personal budget tracker. If you have any questions or need more tips, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you want to take your finances to the next step, I'll leave here a tour of my ultimate finance tracker. If you enjoyed this video, a like will mean the world to me. And if you don't want to miss out on our latest updates, tips, and tricks for making the most of your personal finances, don't forget to subscribe. That being said, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!